In this video, we're going to learn a bit about what is the chromatic aberration effect that you can find sometimes in photos, games, illustrations, and designs. You can see here that we have two types of chromatic aberration: the real chromatic aberration that is found in photos and the simplified effect that you can find on TikTok's logo. Although these two look a bit different, they actually work fundamentally the same way under the hood. Let's take a closer look at how chromatic aberration looks in a photograph. You can see here that we have a strange color fringe effect. It's rather blurry and creates some sort of rainbow in some areas. Why does this happen? The reason for this is a bit complicated, so let's start from the beginning. What we perceive as color is light bouncing off objects and reaching our eyes. In physics, we say that light behaves as a wave, which means it has a wavelength or a frequency. Our eyes have three different types of cells that are sensitive to three different wavelengths. The first type is sensitive to low-frequency wavelengths, and when it's stimulated, our brain interprets it as being the red color. The second type is perceived as the green color, and the last type, which is high frequency, is interpreted as the blue color. If light reaches our eyes as a wave that is the combination of these three wavelengths, we perceive it as being the white color. I'd like to note that the superposition of waves has to do with quantum mechanics, and I don't really understand how the waves combine at all, but that's not important. The important thing is that we have three different waves for red, green, and blue, and if they are combined together somehow, we have the white color. As you can see here in the photo, we have some areas where the same thing appears three times, once in red, once in green, and once in blue. What is happening here is that something that was supposed to be white has been split into these three colors. The reason why this happens has to do with the way photographic cameras work. The camera records the image by making light pass through the camera lens, changing its direction. This phenomenon is called refraction, and the refractive index of a material refers to how much the path of light is bent when it passes through the material. It turns out that the refractive index doesn't change just from material to material, it also changes from wavelength to wavelength. As a consequence, it's possible for white light to reach a material and get split into a rainbow of different wavelengths, because each wavelength is bent at a slightly different angle. This phenomenon is called dispersion, and it's what we see in prisms. Chromatic aberration is a type of dispersion. Low-frequency wavelengths are refracted in the lens at a different angle than high-frequency wavelengths, which means that they appear on the photo at different positions. This explains this area where the three colors appear at different positions, but why chromatic aberration results in a color fringe in most of the photo? I think most people who learn about chromatic aberration assume that it's nothing more than a color fringe, but if you take a close look at some photos with this effect, you'll notice that every photo with chromatic aberration is also blurry. They have to be blurry because the camera is literally smearing the color. The color that was supposed to be focused on one point is spread across a larger area on the photo, so of course it's going to be blurry. To understand this better, let's imagine that there is a point in the photo that was supposed to be pure white. Because of chromatic aberration, it's dispersed across a larger area vertically. At first glance, this doesn't really explain anything, but let's imagine that there is a second white point below it. Because of chromatic aberration, this second white point is also dispersed across a larger area vertically. And then there is a third white point, so we get a third rainbow. Observe that here in the middle we have all three colors that we need to get the white color. We have red from one point, green from another point, and blue from another point. These three wavelengths come from different sources, but because they overlap at the same position on the photo, this position will become white. Similarly, the spot that combines both red and green wavelengths will appear yellow, and the spot with both blue and green wavelengths will appear cyan. The simplified chromatic aberration effect that we see in the TikTok logo works the same way. To understand this better, let's imagine a pure white TikTok logo without chromatic aberration. Let's separate the white color into red, green, and blue. Observe that areas where green and blue overlap, we have the cyan color. We can also think of this in a different way. Instead of saying that two of the three colors overlap in this area, we can think of this area as an area where one of the three colors is missing. In other words, we have cyan because red is missing. We had white before, then we removed red, and now we got cyan. To create a design with chromatic aberration like TikTok's logo, all we have to do is combine the RGB back into the same position, then we take only the red and move it a bit diagonally. The area of the image that used to be black before has gained the red color, while the opposite side that was white before lost the red color and is now cyan. In reality, although this looks like TikTok's logo, this isn't exactly TikTok's logo because TikTok's logo uses a slightly different hue, but the idea is fundamentally the same. This is how the chromatic aberration works and why it looks the way it does. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.